Okay, so we're gonna draw the sun again. Okay, so that's my poorly formed sun. And the reason I'm gonna draw it really low is because I want you to understand that the sun energy has to be going into a huge base group, right? So this is gonna be the food pyramid, and we want to understand that that has to be the biggest group, right? So those producers are gonna be on bottom, and they're going to be the photosynthesizers. And so that's all those cyanobacteria that have the green color. Pretty much anything that has the green color is going to be a photosynthesizer. So when those guys are making food, they're the producers. When we drew the consumer, it's about 10% smaller. Well, it's 90% smaller. It's 10% of this group down here. So we'll just make this really big and deep so that we can understand that if this were 100 grams of beings, so little guys, and you take them out and dry them out and then weigh them, if that's 100 grams, this would only be 10 grams because that's as much energy as they can get out of those producers. So these guys are the primary consumers, and you want to know that they're not making their own food, and that there's a lot less of them in a system than there are these primary producers on the bottom. These are the most important people that are making all the energy. So you should eat lots of kale and lots of spinach because you're getting lots of sun energy directly from that. And it takes a lot of them to build one of you up here. So primary consumers, another word for that would be an herbivore. So you've heard of herbs, so herbs and spices. Herbaceous plants mean anything that can photosynthesize. So they aren't woody plants, but you can imagine those rabbits and, I just said runnies for rabbit bunny, but you know, those guys that are eating green things that are healthy for you, that's going to be those primary consumers. And there's a lot less of them than there are as you go up. So here we would only have 1 gram because it's a 10% transfer again. And that is a really difficult concept to understand, but these ones are secondary consumers. And we do want to understand this because it is hard to transfer energy because these guys aren't in it for making food for you. That's not their job. They're making food for themselves. So they're pooping and peeing and energy consuming all the time, and these guys don't directly benefit from that. So there is only a 10% transfer of energy on up the scale. So by the time you get up here, you have just a very, very top teeny tip that's the top consumers. So when you're a meat eater, you're also called a carnivore. So carnivores just eat meat. They don't consume the plant matter, but a lot of people in the secondary consumers, and we are top predators, but we eat both. So a word for that, and I'm just going to put it under the secondary consumer, is omnivore, meaning you do both. So you do both the plants and you do both the meat. So meat. There you go. So you need to have a working understanding that if I'm referring to something that's green, like a volvox, here I'll just draw a volvox colony with a little volvox colony inside. Just make some big ones, so daughter colonies here. So here's where volvox, and it could photosynthesize. It's very, very green, so that's going to be a photosynthesizer, but I don't want that to mess you up if I call it a producer. Okay, so you have to know that a volvox is a photosynthesizer taking energy from the sun, turning it into glucose, and it's producing food for the rest of the food pyramid. So we want to understand how that works all together, and then the person consuming that energy, so we're energy transferring over here. Let's just imagine a little fish. We're not going to name the fish, just call it a fish. So if a fish is sort of sucking the pebbles on the bottom of a pond, he's going to be consuming algae and volvoxes and all kinds of things, makes him happy, and we would call him a primary consumer. So there can only be 10% as many primary consumers as there can be all the photosynthesizers in the system. And so you want to just know that how this all fits together in a food web, which is when you draw the energy transfer to each fish. So then we'd have another fish down here, a bigger fish eating that guy. And this, we'll put some jaggedy teeth, so he's a pretty vicious fish, eating the other fish. Okay? So this guy is going to eat him. That makes him a secondary consumer. And you want to understand he's also a carnivore. And how that energy flows up the food pyramid. So it's all flowing up the food pyramid, but it's also interconnected in an ecosystem web. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have further questions on ecosystems, transfer of energy, be sure to email me or text or call, and I am here for you guys, so just let me know. Thanks.